headlines. Troops of Operation Hadarin Daji neutralize bandits leader, recovers arms in Zamfara. Minister of Water Resources says declaring state of emergency over the disastrous flooding across the country not yet necessary. Police fire tear gas at Lekki NSAS anniversary procession in Lagos. And dozens killed in Chad after protesters demand civilian rule. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I'm Zainab Bala. Hello and welcome. Troops of Operation Hadarin Daji on Thursday conducted a fighting patrol to the bandits' enclave at Doka village, Gandu Forest in Anka local government area of Zamfara. According to the spokesman of Defense Media Operations, Major General Musa Madami, the troops neutralized 2 terrorists while others fled with injuries. He said during the exploitation of the general area, one of the neutralized terrorists was identified as Ibrahim Chiri, a notorious bandit leader known for terrorizing Gandu, Gwashi, Bukuyum and Anka general areas. Troops recovered 1 AK-47, 4 rounds of 7.62 mm special ammunition, 1 motorcycle and mobile phones, amongst others. The spokesman commended the troops and encouraged the general public to avail troops with credible and timely information on criminal activities. Now, troops of Operation World Punch of the Nigerian Army have killed 2 armed bandits several kilometers off the Kaduna-Abuja highway in the ongoing campaign of taking the battle to the doorsteps of the bandits. According to operational feedback from the Kaduna State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, the troops acting on credible intelligence overpowered the bandits and subsequently destroyed their hideouts, while still combating the general area to fish out remaining bandits. Now, during the operation, the troops also recovered an AK-47 rifle, 2 magazines carrying 38 rounds of ammunition, a cell phone and 2 corpses of the bandits. In another development, troops of Operation Forest Sanity have rescued 2 kidnapped victims at Rafin Kaura community during an emergency response operation in Chikun local government area. Now, according to feedback from security agencies, the troops responded to reports of an attack around Dende Buruku Junction along Damba Dende Bukuru Road, Chikun local government area, and quickly mobilized to the location where they made contact with bandits at Rafin Kaura. The national chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Abdullahi Adamu, on Thursday opened a can of worms, saying the level of corruption in the system under Governor Maimala Buni-led Caretaker Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee was too high. Adamu, who stated this during an interactive session with newsmen at the APC National Secretariat in Abuja, said they inherited 7.5 billion debt from the Buni-led Caretaker Committee. Speaking on why directors of various departments at the APC headquarters were sacked, Adamu said the level of corruption in the system they worked was high. Adamu had on April 22nd ordered all departmental directors at the party's National Secretariat in Abuja to proceed on indefinite suspension over allegations of corruption. Moving on, at least 28 serving and former state governors seek election into the Senate in next year's elections. There is, however, growing concern among citizens on the impact of this development in Nigeria's democratic journey. Trust TV's Shafiu Suleiman examines the position of 2 former governors on the impact, cost and reasons behind the interest for the upper legislative chamber by the governors. His report.
There are currently 14 former governors from across the Federation in the Senate taken on the business of lawmaking after serving as chief executive officers of their respective states for 8 years. What could have been the motivation behind this development?
They are always interested in occupying choice committee positions, having the opportunity to embark on the so-called oversight responsibilities, but without doing the real critical responsibilities of senators. I cannot really mention beyond 1 or 2 or 3 of them that has done something outstanding, particularly over and above others who have not been governors.
I had wanted to go back to my normal vocation of real estate development. But once you have become a public officer, you have become a public property. And if your people so wish to ask you to deploy your efforts towards adding value to them, you'll be doing injustice to them if you refuse.
How can I be a governor of 8 years of the state, and then after serving 8 years, and then I'll come back and take 1/3 to say I'm representing them?
While it remains the former governor's political and constitutional rights to seek election into any elective office, excluding the one they once served, there have been growing concerns over their impact at the legislative arms of government in the face of mounting cost of governance.
Most, if not all of them, haven't already conspired to allocate to themselves hefty or humongous amount of money as pension. So they are pensioners being paid heavily by their own states with a lot of perquisites of office.
When one leaves the office of governor, one has garnered a lot of experience, a lot of situations that was not household. Some of them are classified, some of them are opportunistic, some of them are one-off.
Though Nigeria operates a presidential democracy with a bicameral legislature, some are advocating the need to tinker with the current democratic structure with a view to freeing resources that will be channeled to better the well-being of the citizens. Shafiu Suleiman, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adam on Thursday said declaring a state of emergency over disastrous flooding across the country was not yet necessary. The minister said they are yet to reach a situation where the relevant emergency management authorities are unable to deal with this situation. The minister said the main cause of the flooding was unprecedented rainfall. He said rainfall in the northeast had been 4 times above the normal average. Adamu noted that the government has an early warning system communicated through the annual flood outlook, but added that the report could not have predicted this year's intensity. At least 600 persons have died and millions displaced due to flooding-related disasters this year, with many parts of the country still submerged underwater. Similarly, Nigeria ranks 103 out of 121 countries facing hunger in the 2022 Global Hunger Index. This figure revealed the gravity of Nigeria's hunger crisis, exacerbated by the recent flood in the country. The national coordinator of the National Social Investment Program, Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Umar Buba, says in every disaster there is an opportunity.
In the short term, the challenge will be the farms are actually destroyed. Fresh supply of farm produce will be in short supply. We have to somehow utilize our reserves at this time to make sure that we calm the flow of food to people. But gradually, as the rains subside, you will start seeing very fertile and wetland appearing all over the place for farmers, particularly in the dry season farming sector, to take advantage of these very fertile pieces of land that is moist to now boost the production and to cover for the losses. The most important thing is to ensure that we deploy what we know, we deploy the knowledge we have, we deploy the technologies that we can be able to have access. In countries where they have been able to manage this type of things, we must learn, and we must learn very, very quickly so that we can be able to protect our systems appropriately.
Now, residents of Kaduna are urging the federal government to expedite action on the resumption of service on the Abuja-Kaduna train route. The residents made the call when Trust TV visited the Kaduna train station in Rigasa. They also urged the federal government to put proactive measures in place to prevent insecurity on the railway lines, as Bello Musa now reports.
The Kaduna-Abuja train services were the delight of many passengers, and it became a key cross-regional pathway ferrying both goods and people. Many Nigerians opted for train services due to insecurity on the highway. Although the highway was not abandoned by travelers, the alternative train services brought a measure of relief to those who journeyed through the route until March 28, when bandits attacked Kaduna-Abuja train and kidnapped 61 passengers. Since the attack, the Nigerian Railway Corporation suspended operations on the route. The Kaduna train station was a beehive of activities, but a visit to the train station looks deserted, with many business crippled. With the remaining hostages of train attack released, train passengers, business owners and taxi drivers as regards our train station are urging the federal government to reopen the train station. We believe it is from God, but we are in difficult situation, and we pray for the resumption of the train service. We cannot quantify the losses we incurred here due to suspension of train services. We have been living in a difficult situation. Rabi Aramayao used to travel by train. She narrates her ordeal due to the absence of train services.
So a lot of people are finding it difficult in terms of traveling because it's not everyone that can afford to travel by air. And going by road is another difficult thing. One has to start thinking of what will happen on the road.
Dr. Awal Abdullahi, a security expert, says the 718 million naira surveillance contract by the federal government is a right step in the right direction.
Yes, it is a step in the right direction. I recall that the former Minister of Aviation, Rotimi Amechi, lamented seriously over this rail line surveillance contract that was supposed to have been on place for long, but due to some technicalities, which was not too necessary, it was not put in place, and then what happened. First and foremost, the world over, rail lines are safeguarded.
He also suggests measures that need to be taken to avert a recurrence of such attack.
I know that there's infrared cameras that is connected to the satellite. That is the easiest way to reach out and also sight a common object 200 meters, 300 meters away from it. Then you have the drones, which can be put on run, and with some at the substations of the train station, you can create a security coalition room where you have the cameras that will be monitoring either the drones or the infrared security circuit. But
as Nigerians await the resumption of the Kaduna-Abuja train service, many are hopeful that adequate security measures will be in place to guarantee the security of lives and property. From Kaduna, Bello Musa reporting for Trust TV.
The International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICR, and other development partners are engaging policymakers, implementers, health professional associations, and council executives on the need to strengthen primary healthcare centers at sub-national levels. At a public policy dialogue in Abuja, discussions focus on how best Nigeria can improve health outcomes by using accountability mechanisms built around health systems. Trust TV's Aisha Salu reports.
Stakeholders at the event said the public dialogue is timely as the country's primary healthcare system is facing finance and a human resource gap, among other drawbacks, and also experiencing inadequate implementation of the Basic Healthcare Provision Fund and the Midwife Service Scheme in some parts of the country.
The states we selected, they all had access to the BHCPF, and there have been improved services in some of those facilities accessing it, but there are so many other challenges, like some facilities that should be accessing it are not accessing it because of operational issues such as not having checkbook, lack of signatories, and that issue that was actually quite common to in some extent is a lack of awareness.
The coverage is not yet total, and that is because of the strategy for implementation. The strategy for implementation is actually meant to be gradual, right? And we know that some states are already benefiting, some PHCs are already benefiting. However, what is lacking is seeing that the BSCPF is actually trickled down and is having effect on the people.
We want to see whether this money is being used judiciously as it should be. And if there are issues, what are the things that we need to do to correct? How do we audit or ensure that people are doing the right thing?
Key stakeholders at the community levels, such as the Ward Development Councils, have raised recommendations for improved implementation of the BHCPF through measures like the timely release of funds for infrastructure and human capital development, adequate implementation of healthcare programs and medical supplies, integration of all stakeholders in the health budgeting process, synergy of public and private health facilities, among others, to achieve better healthcare service delivery.
For us to achieve our aim here in our primary healthcare facilities, we need to employ more nurses and midwives, professionals that can handle the healthcare of people in these communities. We need to improve in their take-home packages, and we also need to put basic social amenities in those places for them to be able to work there comfortably well.
Training of staff, and there is a certain percentage that goes to midwife recruitment. There are a certain percentage that actually try to take care of infrastructure, that's in terms of repairs and other things like salaries for ad hoc staff, so that to support the ad hoc, that's volunteer in these cases, and of course even drugs.
Findings at the public policy dialogue are expected to help address areas needed to be strengthened within the primary healthcare systems. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
You're watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up, how ancient crafts fare in digital age. Details of this story after the break. Stay with us.
Which kind of wire you gonna need to light up your light? Oh man, the quality wire. Now which kind of cable you gonna need to light up your house? Oh man, the quality cable. Coleman quality. Coleman wire. Coleman durable. Coleman cable. Coleman tank. Coleman cable for any kind of project. Come and be the come and see, come and see. Now come and be the Coleman won't light up your light. Now come and be the come and see. Now come and be the C-O-L-E-M-A-A. Quality, quality. Durable. Oh yeah. Now come and be the Baba.
That's great.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is Trust TV News Update. Our top stories. Troops of Operation Hadarin Daji neutralize bandits leader recovers arms in Zamfara. Minister of Water Resources says declaring state of emergency over the disastrous flooding across the country not yet necessary. Moving on, policemen on Thursday fired tear gas canisters and water cannons to disperse participants at the second memorial of the EndSARS protest at Lekki Toll Gate in Lagos. The youth, led by popular musician Folarin Falana Falz and comedian Adibowale Adebayo, Mr. Macaroni, had gathered at the Lekki Toll Gate in commemoration of the second anniversary of the shooting at the plaza. which was the epicenter of the 2020 EndSARS protest. The report.
In 2020, youths under the hashtag EndSARS movement had taken to the streets to protest against police brutality and called for disbandment of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad SARS, a unit of Nigerian police with a long record of abuse of young citizens. The protest ended on October 20th, 2020, when armed soldiers allegedly opened fire on protesters, resulting in a disputed number of casualties. At the memorial, the protesters, with dummy coffins, blood-stained Nigerian flags, and placards passed through the Lekki toll gate, chanting solidarity songs in memory of those who were allegedly killed at the scene 2 years ago. Mother of one of the victims of the Lekki shooting, Olabisi Abidin, who was at the procession, narrated our ordeal since the demise of our son.
October 20, 2020 is such a bad day for me. My son, who repairs generators, was participating in the EndSARS protest. He always joined the protest after closing from his place of work. He was there for 3 days and always returned home until October 20, when his corpse was brought home.
Folarin Falana, popularly known as Fowls, who said the walk was in memory of those who died during the 2020 protest, urged them to dump the dummy coffins at the toll gate to pass a symbolic message about the sad event.
Never let that happen. Yes. I will not be so. No. But I beg, I don't want to question here. Hold on first. We don't make anybody make this movement in a political anything. I will not want DMA, we just block road for everybody. So these coffins over there, won't carry these coffins, won't carry them out of. These coffins are very symbolic. Now here when they kill our people. So we could bring this coffin for them.
However, security agents fired tear gas canisters as protesters were dumping the dummy coffin at the plaza. Policemen also allegedly harassed journalists, including Eniona Daniel of Guardian newspaper, Oba Adeoye of Arise Television, and Yushau Taiwo of Trust Television. Speaking on the development, the public relations officer of the Lagos State Police Command, SP Benjamin Udenyi, said minimal force was used to disperse the protesters when they started mounting the toll gate complex.
Well, there you go. Local crafts have played a vital role in rejuvenating the economy of nations across the globe. Ancient professions such as tanning, dyeing, blacksmithing, goldsmithing, and pottery have contributed greatly to the stabilization of the socio-economic well-being of those who practice it. These crafts and occupations are facing technological challenges, which have caused many to go into extinction. In Katsina, Abdullahi Yamadi takes a look at the state of local crafts and other occupations and what they contribute to the economy. His report.
Though there are these local crafts and occupations still thriving in Katsina State, the value chain is being eroded gradually, and many end users of the finished products are opting for modernized variants. In the ancient city of Katsina, there were over 500 people engaged in the production of this local water storage and preservation facility using leather. As the trade is collapsing, this family of 15 people are the only ones engaged in the business throughout Katsina State, even as the business remains relevant and it pays.
Sana'ata wannan wadda ko gani ina yi yanzu sana'ar tandun mai.
To me, even as this business is facing challenges, I can tell you, if I have enough capital, only God knows the extent to which I can go. The reason is simple. The market is growing, but we have very little for our customers. These finished products are sold between 3,000 to 10,000 naira per each, depending on the size, while it is being sold locally and beyond Nigeria's shores in Mali, Burkina Faso, Togo, Cameroon, and Chad. Another craft that is being practiced is this cold storage products made from leather. Again, just a handful of families are still involved in the craft in Katsina. The Ntendu community was named after the art of making this product because in the past, every household engaged in the trade. You know, the importance of keeping things inside leather is to ensure safety and quality. In fact, it preserves things. This is corn and is a cosmetic preparation used by women to darken the edges of their eyelids. You are aware of its importance. Another important occupation which is all but extinct now is dyeing. The activity which once engaged thousands has been abandoned in the last 20 to 25 years now. This place, popularly known as Marina, has now been converted to blacksmithing and fabrication factory. The place has grown before now. There were hundreds of dyeing pots placed all over this place. As you can see, hardly you could trace any dyeing place here, and most of them are in another businesses now. Another occupation which is suffering a monumental setback is tannery, which only the elderly among the population are practicing. Local crafts and other occupations are seriously collapsing, with many people within the value chain losing their jobs, a situation observers say requires urgent government attention. Abdullahi Ismayamadi, Trust Television News, Katsina.
Chadian security forces have opened fire on an anti-government demonstrators in the country's two largest cities, killing dozens of people. Chadian government spokesman Aziz Mohamed Saleh said 30 people were killed in the capital, N'Djamena. Police earlier fired tear gas at the crowds, but the demonstrators continued advancing and their numbers grew. It was then that security forces opened fire, leaving protesters struggling to gather the dead from the scene. Among those killed was a Chadian journalist, Nassis Orije, who worked for Seford Radio and was struck by a bullet. The country has been rocked by a political crisis since longtime President Idris Deby was killed on the battlefield on April 2021 while visiting frontline troops. And that's it on News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I'm Zainab Bala. Thanks for your time and company.